在庭院里和丈夫及儿子闲话家常，看起来就像一般的退休生活。不过，这样的悠闲时光，对一向忙碌的挪威前总理格罗哈莱姆·布伦特兰夫人来说，却是弥足珍贵。布伦特兰夫人打破性别成见，成为挪威第一位女性总理，也曾在 SARS 肆虐期间带领世界卫生组织平息疫情。不过，她对这个世界最大的贡献，在于她早在1987年就定义什么是永续发展。过去几十年，她更努力在人类经济发展与社会公益之间寻求均衡发展，因此获得唐奖第1届永续发展奖的肯定。
President Ma, please present the Tang Prize Medal.
年轻时，布伦特兰夫人在奥斯陆大学取得医学学位。不过，她的人生抱負远远超出单纯的悬壶济世。
I didn't think to become, a surgeon or a clinician. I was thinking about society. I was thinking about public health, about preventive medicine, and to have a profession that can help me understand human, people, their surroundings, and to understand society better. So this is why I chose to become a doctor in the first place. And I went directly after my studies to Harvard School of Public Health in the US, because I wanted to study public health.
学成归国之后，布伦特兰夫人随即进入公卫部门工作。没想到在35岁时，面临人生第一个挑战。挪威总理邀请她加入内阁，担任环境部长。
That in order to say yes to the Prime Minister to become member of government and minister at that time, I had to discuss with my husband if he could take a bigger part of the responsibility for the children than he had until then. He said yes. And I told him for the first, around 10 years of our marriage, although we have shared duties, I had done the biggest share. He knew that. So he felt it was a natural thing for him now to change this and become more of the dominating figure in the home for the children. Now, not every husband in 1974 would have done it as easily as he did. This here is my children. These were taken in our home when the children grew up, the 4 children, and this is only a few months after I became Minister of Environment. So the kids are 8, and then 9.5, 11.5, and 13.5.
他的儿子也半开玩笑地说，小时候看到母亲谈的总是国事。
Funny thing is, when I see her in totally private areas, it's still the same.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So if we are on the beach, for example, in the summer holidays, she can sit there and talk about things that is not very interesting at all for other people, but still they are around and they talk and they listen and they comment and everything.
布伦特兰夫人从此踏上政治不归路。
I was asked to be willing to stand as the deputy leader of the party in 1975. To me, it was quite shocking because I had little political experience, in my own opinion. This one is when I am a young environment minister and deputy leader. So this is the leader of the party. This is the prime minister. This is the former prime minister, the one that I served first. And this is the party secretary. So here you have the leadership of the country in the end of the 70s.
And you We're the only women there.
Oh yes, as you can see, yeah. And of course, then I knew that my destiny could be that in the future, maybe I will become the first woman leader of the party.
Yes.
And 6 years later, I was. So it happened step by step, from all of a sudden becoming an environment minister to becoming deputy, and then leader of the party, and then prime minister.
Every Norwegian knew Gro Harlem Brundtland because
I see.
she was the first female prime minister in Norway in 1981.
Yeah.
And she was, well, that was quite controversial in Norway at that time. So I think because she was
female.
a woman, she was more criticized than all the male prime ministers was before her.
随着试图平步青云，男主内女主外的夫妻相处模式，也考验着布伦特兰夫妇。
This here is Brundtland, who is taking care of the home. This is my husband, and me and one of the children outside our house. So, you know, they took pictures, they commented on these things. Well, this here, I was receiving something called the Onassis Prize. And one of the other awardees was Ted Turner. Ted Turner of CNN.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this picture was taken, and it was used in the Norwegian papers, making fun of my husband holding the bag.
然而，成大事者不拘小节，布伦特兰夫人丝毫不受影响，继续在永续发展的议题上做她认为该做的事。
When the first environmental conference was held by the United Nations in Stockholm in 1972, the world really clashed. The developing world came to Stockholm, in many ways led by Indira Gandhi from India, who said, poverty is the greatest polluter. So there was a real difference of opinion. It was seen that environmental issues were something for the rich countries of the north, and the south were only wanted to focus on the poverty that they felt. Here you have the Secretary General of the United Nations, de Cuellar, who was the Secretary General who appointed the Commission. He was the Secretary General at that time. Yeah. So when I was asked to lead the World Commission, there were sufficient numbers of countries that were concerned to have the Secretary General and the General Assembly announce a new commission, which was supposed to be an independent commission, important for me. Nobody was going to instruct me about what we were supposed to be saying, analyzing, and suggesting. And so when I was asked to chair this commission, I was very much aware that unless we find a response to these challenges that can combine environmental concerns with economic development and overcoming of poverty, there is no way. Because no country, no people will accept to stay in poverty because people in other parts of the world are feeling the consequences to the environment. And when I chose the commissioners, I decided there has to be more than half of those commissioners coming from the developing world, because I wanted it to be a global analysis, not a Western-led analysis, but a global one where all the concerns of the developing world were fully taken account of. And we succeeded in that. And for that reason, the report was heard. It was heard across the world. People understood the message. The governments across the world realized the drama. The messages were indeed dramatic in many ways, and the call for action was very sound.
1987年，布伦特兰夫人在联合国世界环境与发展委员会上发表了《我们共同的未来 Our Common Future》报告，如同一记振聋发聩的警钟，正式将永续发展定义为既能满足我们现今的需求，同时又不损及后代子孙满足他们需求的发展模式。
In this report from the World Commission, they recognize that in order to achieve a balanced and harmonious growth, if you like, where both the society, environment and economy is taken care of, we have to change the way we are making politics, we have to change international relations, we even have to change our way of life.
Yes.
And they state in this book that that is difficult, that is not going to happen by itself. It requires strong political will.
She has a lot of courage. Okay. She is, when she thinks that something is important, she goes for it. Okay. Even if someone is, skeptical or criticizing, she just, go for it.
勇往直前，不畏反弹声浪。布伦特兰夫人在永续发展的这条路上越走越坚定。
You see, back in already when I was Prime Minister and we had delivered the report in '87, we started putting new policies, improving the policies in Norway as well. So by 1990, we had introduced a carbon tax, not only on the mainland industries and on the use of fossil fuels, but also on the continental shelf, because that had been excluded in the beginning. But from 1990, I decided we must put a carbon tax on the continental shelf. There was a big outcry in Norway, yes, to a certain extent, but across the world in oil exporting countries, they couldn't believe that Norway was taxing its own oil industry, its own exports, but we were. And of course, what has happened is the Norwegian continental shelf is much more clean. So when you look around the world in different parts of the world where oil is being extracted, Norway is far above and better with regard to how much emission per ton of oil extracted.
She was a pioneer in many ways.
Yes.
Because she could talk to the leaders of the G8 or G7. She could talk to heads of government all over the world as colleagues, and so achieved a lot.
实事求是的精神，让学医出身的布伦特兰夫人和其他政治人物很不一样。
What is so typical of Brundtland is her sort of the medical doctor's approach to problems. So she has a scientific mind combined with a political one, and a great experience in international affairs. But I would emphasize the medical doctor part of it, because she approaches a problem and trying to articulate the right diagnosis. What actually is the problem? And she would read documents and hundreds of pages herself to really learn the problem, because she felt that as a politician she could not deal with complicated issues just out of a feeling for the political aspect of it. She had to really know the scientific part of it.
I was always very determined to base my arguments and my thinking on facts and evidence and research-based results.
Yeah.
So I felt that was my duty. And I think, you know, this is not very regular for politicians to be, most of them don't put such a great emphasis on it. They maybe they don't have the training. For me, it was natural. But people somehow appreciated it. I think it increased the confidence in my arguments, that they realized that I was always based on facts when I spoke and when I argued.
外界很好奇，为什么不论是公共卫生或是国际政治领域，布伦特兰夫人总是游刃有余？原来她是个速读高手。
She's a speed reader. She reads very fast.
Really?
And I think she learned that, she says so, she learned that at Harvard School of Public Health when she was there as a young medical student. So I would give her a draft and she would take it and look at it and say, good. Or a memorandum of 3 pages and she said, page 2 is inconsistent with the bottom of page 3 after a couple of seconds.
考验一个接着一个。布伦特兰夫人在接掌世卫组织后，在2002年遇上 SARS 在全球蔓延的挑战。
Where I felt strongly that there is no other institution in the world that can give general advice to all governments about what we need to do. And the WHO had never before issued travel recommendations. I then decided we had to do travel recommendations to say to people across the world, unless there is absolute necessity, you should not travel to country X, Y, Z, you know? And many people were surprised. Most governments understood that this was necessary. But there were examples of political figures who protested.
When Toronto got an outbreak of SARS, the Prime Minister of Canada called Dr. Brundtland and asked her not to give an advisory to the world that Toronto was affected, because it had big economic consequences. It meant that
yeah, they will harm their tourists, everything.
Yes, billions of dollars would be lost. But Dr. Brundtland said no. She had done it for countries in Asia and for cities in Asia. She could not treat then.
There's no
Canada
exception.
different,
Yeah.
was no exception.
Yeah.
I don't think many director generals of WHO would have stood up to a prime minister of an important country.
原本可能一发不可收拾的 SARS 疫情，因为布伦特兰夫人的坚持与一视同仁，终获平息。她被美国科学人杂志评选为年度政策领袖。
Which made it all the more rewarding because you knew that she was critical.
Yep.
And that she would not sort of let something which was not good enough pass. And of course that meant a lot of responsibility for everybody else who worked for her, that we had to live up to extremely high standards. But it was also rewarding to work for someone who set very high standards for herself in her work.
She is very open-minded when she wants to get a conclusion on anything. Whether it's the color of the wall, new curtains, new solution for government, whatever it is, she asks everyone or several around her to get their opinion. And after having all the opinions, she makes the decisions if she is more or less the one to make the decision. And that is a good thing, because if you only listen to people who gives you the answer you expect or you want, then you are likely to get a a bad decision because you haven't got the other input. And that is something I use in my work.
布伦特兰夫人强调，永续发展的定义无需要改变，世人要努力的是采取更多行动。他很荣幸能成为第1届唐奖永续发展奖的得奖人，也非常感谢能获得这项殊荣。
You know, it adds to education, which I think is an important aspect of the donor in this case. I mean, he's thinking much about education of the coming generations and to see that research is being made, done, and also shared and acted upon. So those things are important. The generations that I belong to and the generation after have not done enough so far to prepare for the future in a safe and prosperous way, taking care of the environment and people's rights to prosperity and safety. Now, but the grandchildren, my grandchildren, they have learned about sustainable development already in their early school years. So there is a growing, young generation that now have no excuse. They have known since they were small children about the issues. They are the generation that really have to push for change. And of course, we who are in front or have gone in front of them before have added to the knowledge base. I personally have done what I can to spread the message over the last 40 years. And now, I will continue as long as I'm alive, but I'm counting on you, the young people, to really run with the torch.
持续关注地球，促进人类社会的永续发展。如果不是布伦特兰夫人，永续发展的概念或许根本无法成为全世界关注的议题。封布伦特兰夫人为永续发展的教母，当之无愧。
助からないっていうイメージがありましたので、もう精神的に、自律神経がやられてしまいました。
10多年前，他被医生诊断出卵巢癌，手术切除又再复发，接受化疗后却出现了严重的副作用。
去年の抗がん剤を受けてる時は、もう体がしんどくって食べれない、眠れない、体重は減る、で歩けない、それでもう去年の年末まで私は生きてられないと思っていました。でところが免疫療法っていうのは以前から興味がありましたので、もうすぐ飛びつきました。すごく普段の生活に戻りました。感謝、私にとってはもう、命の恩人というか感謝するのみです。
除了日本的癌症病患，美国的费林先生也因为用免疫疗法抗癌重获新生。66岁的费林先生原本是位专业的拍卖师，2008年被诊断出肾脏癌，原本以为切除后就可以一劳永逸，想不到才隔了4年， 体内又出现了肿瘤的阴影。
Well, I was, pretty distraught, as anybody would be, and I was wanting to have something done, and I didn't know what to do after they operated on that.
好在费林先生选择接受最新的抗 CTLA4 和抗 PD-1 的癌症免疫疗法，人生从黑白变彩色。
I feel great. I've never felt bad. I've felt good. I eat good. Everything seems normal. I mean,
So
just very little side effects.
Side effects make you tired.
Very little. No. I'm just real thankful.
免疫系统有刹车分子，而我们可以控制它们，借此杀死癌细胞。这是詹姆斯·艾利森与本树幼划时代的新发现。发现第一个刹车分子的艾利森博士兴奋地分享着病人的喜悦。
But this woman in May 2001 had failed every other therapy, and there's her tumor in her lung and down here, and so I know her doctor, Dr. Anthony Ribas in California, and he said, we've got this new drug. It's not been in people before, but we'd like to, use it. And she told me that she said, well, I don't care. I just want to see my sons graduate from high school. So if I can get another 3-4 months, I'll be happy. Within 4 months or so, she looked like that. And
4 months and 1 shot.
And in 10 years, she still looks like that. So, well, this is in 2011, after a single dose.
Single dose. Wow.
And so now her kids have graduated from high school, college. If there's one thing that's more adaptable, more plastic, more able to change than a cancer cell, it's the immune system, because that's how it's designed. Purpose for the immune system is to protect you against anything that nature throws at you.
An immune system has to be equipped with regulatory system, because just like a car, you need to start is ignition.
Yes.
And that is recognition of the bad guys. And then to start the car, you need an axle, and that gives the power. But if you don't have a brake, the system is disaster. The car cannot stop and you cannot drive. So the immune system also has an axle and a brake. And the brake, there are 2 kinds. One is CTLA4, which Jim Allison is working on, and the PD-1, and that these 2 brake control molecule is now the major power for the treatment of cancer.
这个假设分别花了他们20年来证明，而真正撼动世界是当艾里森博士的研究成果结合了本树幼教授的心血，发挥出革命性的加成效果。
Cancer therapy its really goal is to try to improve survival of patients. And for a particularly aggressive cancer like melanoma, the goal has been, if this is an untreated disease or best standard of care, what has been considered a success is to move the median, the 50% survival mark, over by just a few months. And that's been success, acceptable enough to get certain drugs approved, and then they become the standard of care, and that's what we've been used to. But what we've learned now from immunotherapy, such as anti-CTLA4, is you can achieve that. But then what happened with CTLA4, in the follow-up study, it went out with about, there's a break here, about 20% of patients surviving for 10 years after therapy. And so we know with anti-PD-1, you can achieve similar effects, although it hasn't been around nearly as long. Looks like it gives something like about this. And then we don't know because it just started. But what we know now, in combining these 2 drugs, given together, it's not 20% plus 25%. It looks like it gives 90%. And we're only at 2 years now. But the survival rate in melanoma patients who get the combination is 90% of the optimal dose. And so the whole point is we need to change the focus, the goal of cancer therapies from paying attention to this to paying attention to this and this, and then getting combinations and really move the tail, as we call it, the tail of the curve, move it as high as possible using the right combinations in as many different cancer kinds as we can to really give people, the chance of really having quality and long lives after treatment for their disease.
完全颠覆医界对于癌症的想象，也因为这一项成果，癌症免疫疗法登上了2013国际期刊《科学》杂志封面，获选为当年度科学突破之最。
The future is here, and I believe one of these drugs is already FDA approved for melanoma, but I believe there will be another one, I hope next year, for kidney cancer. And we are about to launch a trial combining these two drugs, nivolumab and ipilimumab, as first-line therapy in patients with kidney cancer. So we're moving this therapy now from patients who have already been treated to giving it up front, because we believe there is a promise that these therapies are going to be much more effective than what we've had for the last 8 or 9 years, which is targeted therapy.
然而，认同来得并不容易。免疫疗法治的是免疫系统，而非直接攻击癌细胞，因此不能用已知的标准来衡量效果。
I think it also changes the way the oncologist. I'm an oncologist, so it really changes the way an oncologist thinks about treating the patient. Before, people would give chemotherapy and they want to see the disease shrink and go away. Almost right away. They want to see that happen within 4 weeks even, or else they say, oh, we failed, let's try something else. But for the immune system to work, it actually takes many, many weeks, months even, and sometimes even a year longer for it to see its full effect. Sometimes the tumor actually may get slightly larger before it shrinks. And you have to be patient, and you have to be very thoughtful about what the next step is. Because if you change therapy, and you say, oh no, it's not working, let's just give chemotherapy or something else, you pretty much ruin the effect of what the immune system is trying to do.
面对不断的挫折，当多年的血泪付出仍不受青睐，唯有烈火般的热情能让人继续坚持下去。
He's very passionate about science. He's very passionate about life. He's very passionate about curing patients. I mean, he doesn't work directly with patients. He works with mice, but a lot of his own family members died with cancer, including his mother when he was very young. And that's been the driving force in him wanting to have this impact. 艾里森博士在德州大学奥斯汀分校取得生物博士学位，曾任职于加州大学伯克莱分校癌症研究实验室主任，以及纽约史隆凯特林癌症中心。2012年回到家乡德州大学的安德森癌症中心，担任免疫学系主任。驱动他投身医学研究的力量，其实最初是来自对家人的不舍。母亲癌症病逝那年，他才11岁。
I've always been interested in cancer since I was young because it hit my family in a really big way. My mother died of lymphoma, and one of her brothers died of melanoma, and another one of her brothers died of lung cancer. And then later on in my life, my brother died of metastatic prostate cancer. So I've seen quite a bit of it. But having said all that, it's not that I was trying to necessarily devote my life to curing cancer. I really consider myself more of a basic scientist. So what I tried to do was I was always interested in the immune system because I was just convinced that if we just understood how it worked, we could use it to treat cancer.
When he arrived at the University of Texas campus, he pretty much knew what he wanted to do. He was interested in pursuing a career in science. At one time, he thought he might go to medical school, but that was only with the idea of doing research. So he was way more focused than the average University of Texas students, including me.
When I started college, I wanted to be a doctor, so I started in pre-med. But I realized very quickly, a doctor's job, a physician's job, is to be right, and to be right, you know, you don't want to be wrong, because you got a lot of responsibility. And I just didn't think that was for me. I'd rather do something where I could, you know, think about something and be wrong most of the time, and still and hopefully every now and then figure out something, hopefully something important.
相对于亲人罹癌而研究出突破性免疫疗法的艾利森博士，来自京都的本树佑教授，在高中时就立下宏大的志向，他要帮助很多人。
If I were a clinician and seeing a patient, I guess I might have enjoyed itself, because I can get personal satisfaction by the patient if I can treat him or her. But I thought, you know, it's a limited number of patients. How many patients I can see? Maybe 10,000 or, you know.
Exactly.
So if I find something good for many patients, can be millions of people, I do not get the direct appreciation, but to me it's a great satisfaction and good feeling.
家庭では仕事の話は一切いたしません。ただリラックスをしてると思います。ただ常に何かを読んでる、論文を読んだり本を読んだり帰ってからしております。一生懸命するという、その中途半端にいい加減にいろんなものを興味深くこちょこちょとするんではなくて、
本树佑教授毕业于京都大学医学系，并取得医化学博士学位。他曾赴美担任卡内基研究所客座研究员，以及美国国立卫生研究院客座研究员。走上研究的道路是来自于父亲的影响。
My father is a clinician, but he wanted to do research. Because that's why he is in the university and also went to the United States. But he also always complained, if you see a patient, you have to devote your time, and then the remaining time for research is very limited. So after I get into medical school, we had many conversations, and if you want to do research, you better go to the basic research.
Rather than many people following the discoveries in the West and then try to extend on it, he asked himself what is the most important issue today in immunology or in molecular biology, and then even if it's very hard and it takes a long time, tries to answer right in the direct angle into it.
this time. Yes, really good.
主人は第一は研究ですが、第二はゴルフ。
本树佑教授认为，人最后就是靠体力决胜负。
他不止很少搭电梯，假日时他打高尔夫球锻炼体力。
Golf game is not just power. It's not just strength, but it's not just hitting a ball far. But you need lots of mental control. You need lots of mental training and also experience. And the nice thing, I think, is every time you go, even the same golf course, the ball end up to a totally different environment.
如果说高尔夫球是本树佑教授的放松方式，那葡萄酒和音乐就是艾利森博士最好的抚慰。
Big boss man, can't you hear me when I call? Big boss man, can't you hear me when I call? Well, you ain't so big. No, you just tall, and that's about all.
So here's to Jim, a great individual, a great musician, and he's done a little bit about science. He's done a few things for cancer patients. But really, seriously, Jim, we're really proud of you. We're really amazed by what you've done in your life and what you've done for the patients.
Congratulations! We're good as a band of brothers.
And congratulations for winning the Tang Prize. Yes! Woo! Tang Prize.
相对于艾利森博士欢快热闹的美式庆祝，本树佑教授的庆功宴则是充满浓浓的京都风情。
先生おめでとうさんです。
ありがとう。ありがとうございます。急なことで本当にご迷惑をおかけいたしました。ありがとうございます。I really appreciate Mr. Samuel In, who initiated this system, and he also has done lots of things for encourage people in academia in a different field. And also, I think this is good for Taiwan as a whole. They can show that Taiwan is very much concerned for this kind of the activities like environment, biomedical science, and law and sinology. Yeah.
We know that this is named for a glorious period in the history of the Chinese people, and what a tremendous responsibility it is for not only Dr. Allison, but for our institution.
I think it's putting the emphasis in the right place, and just, especially someone who has children, you want your children to think of science as an exciting place to be in, and it's a place where society appreciates your work. And so this prize, again, appreciates the efforts that have been put forward to help and treat patients. And that's important because we don't see enough of that out there. And that's important, I think, to give the right message about why science needs to be continued, why the next generation should be interested in science.
Tonight, we are young. So let's set the world on fire. We can burn brighter than the sun.
I don't think he would try to influence someone. He did what he had a passion for.
Yeah.
And I think he thinks everyone should do what they have a passion for and not be driven by, a profit or acclaim. It just happens to be that what he's done is turned out to be very, very important, and brought him a lot of acclaim, and I think that makes him a little bit uncomfortable, but he's taken it okay.
为了人类的未来，艾利森博士团队不只希望能延长病患几个月的寿命，更希望能从此战胜癌症。
CTLA-4 actually, so it's an approved drug for melanoma, so that's already approved, and it's being tested in many, many other cancer types, either as a single agent or in combination with another drug, which is the anti-PD-1 drug. So it's either being given by itself or again in combination, and it's being given in multiple tumor types. The tumor types right now are prostate cancer, lung cancer, pancreatic cancer, gastric cancer, triple-negative breast cancer, colorectal cancer, bladder cancer. All these different cancer types are now being tested in clinical trials to see if these therapies can work for these patients as well.
抗 PD-1 也已核准为黑色素瘤药物，而本树佑教授则期待透过免疫疗法治疗超过80种肿瘤，甚至是艾滋病。
I just talked with people in the HIV, so that because if you activate immune system, our body become very strong against all type of the infectious diseases. So I suggested people, why don't you try PD-1 antibody for HIV patients?
对艾利森及本树佑而言，获得糖奖让他们辛苦多年的研究工作受到肯定。对于深陷绝望的癌症病患来说，艾利森和本树佑让他们在黑暗中看见曙光。